United are a team in form, but also there must be a little bit of caution because Bournemouth are no mugs at all. They're in the European race by right, and they've got a great manager, and Newcastle United know how tough it was down at Bournemouth. Earlier in the season it was a little bit warmer than it is today, just 3 degrees here on Tyneside, but a lovely bright sunny morning, and Newcastle United fans arriving in their droves, ready for more entertainment. That's what it's been like in the last few weeks. Alexander Isak also gunning for another record, trying to score in the 9th successive game. He got past Alan Shearer and Joe Willock only the other day, so a real opportunity to get a couple more records choked off for the Magpies, and hopefully today they can make it 10 wins on the spin in all competitions, as I say. But today they must have that little bit of caution. I think Eddie Howe spoke about it in his press conference before the game. You cannot underestimate any team in the Premier League. Even Southampton the other day against Manchester United put in a good hour, almost got a shock result. Nothing can be taken for granted. Well, a difficult afternoon for Newcastle United here against AFC Bournemouth. They went into it chasing a record, club record, 10 wins in a row, but unfortunately that's not how it unfolded here. Newcastle beaten, and you could almost feel this wasn't going to be Newcastle's day from the early stages, if we're honest. Well, Newcastle United just were not at the races today, and you could feel it from the opening stages of this match. They were chasing a 10-game winning run, which would have been a club record, but unfortunately it was beyond them. And as I say, it was from very early in the game you felt that, you know, this wasn't going to be Newcastle's day. They just started with that kind of fatigued look about them, and really, you know, within 6 minutes they were 1-0 down to Justin Kluivert's opener, and after that Newcastle did rally. They battled back, they got back into the game at 1-1 through Bruno's headed effort, but they go in at half-time 2-1 down. Kluivert scoring again, the defence very easily unlocked, and Newcastle were 2-1 down. To me, at that point, that was when the game probably drifted away from them, even though there was still a full half to go. I thought they lost the composure. I thought Joe Linton lost his composure, kicking Kluivert in the back, caused a bit of a melee. There just seemed to be a loss of focus, just a loss of, you know, application from Newcastle. They stopped doing all the things that had got them on this great run, and just fell away in the second half. Yes, they had a couple of half chances, but there was nothing really, you know, they were attacking down the bank, down to the Gallagher end, but there was nothing really for the crowd to get involved with, and Newcastle always looked like they were going to concede further goals, and that's exactly how it proved. Kluivert collecting the match ball by scoring an absolute rocket at the Leazer's end to complete his hat-trick. And Newcastle United now, at this stage, you know, looked just happy to get off the pitch, and before you knew it, Kirkes had made it 4-1. Newcastle United, just as I said, not at the races today. They've got to come back and do a lot better. They've got a trip to Southampton next week. It's going to be difficult, but today, nothing, not many positives to clutch on, and Newcastle now, as I say, back to the drawing board. Now, of course, you can't get too carried away with this. It is a defeat, it is a heavy one, it is a wake-up call, but I think really for Newcastle they've got to dust themselves down. They've got to get ready for that trip to Southampton next week, and they can very much be back on track. I think the bigger picture really here is solidifying that European place. Let's not get carried away. You couldn't get carried away with Newcastle getting pulled into a title race. To have got into the title race, they would have pretty much had to win every single game that's left. Wasn't going to happen. They'd lost 5 games before today. They've now lost 6. Teams that win the league do not lose 5 and 6 games. So Newcastle United would have to go on some kind of, you know, fairy tale run and hope that, you know, teams above them lose every game. It's not going to happen. Newcastle just have to solidify that European place. Getting in the Champions League is still available to them. They must cement that place, and that's what the challenge will be. You know, starting at Southampton next week, and don't forget they've still got both the cups. They've still got Arsenal to come here. One takeaway for me today was Newcastle showed they are capable of actually conceding 4 goals here, so that has to be a worry going in the Arsenal game. They're 2-0 up. They must make sure they start that game in the right manner. They must make sure they're solid, they go back to what they were before. And today was just one of those days in some ways, but in others you can't really use fatigue as an excuse. There was just an air of, you know, maybe complacency about it, maybe a little bit too much confidence going into it. I don't know, can't quite put my finger on it, but Bournemouth certainly were better. As far as fatigue's concerned, Bournemouth had 10 fit players today, and they obviously didn't use that as an excuse before, and they certainly won't after this. It was just a day where Newcastle were outworked, and that's not like them. There was a lot of things I saw today that I don't see very often with Newcastle United, especially in the previous 9 games. But that's where Newcastle are. There's still plenty to play for. Let's not get too down in the dumps about it. Newcastle's still in a good position. They've been on a great run. You're not going to win every game. You're certainly not going to win every game at home, unfortunately, as nice as it would be. But here, Newcastle United, second best, and they must, as I said, dust themselves down and move on pretty quickly.